So wait a minute. So wait. So hold up. Are we of the opinion? Are we of the opinion that Tyson shouldn't even come back? Oh, hang on. Our friend just came into the room here. What's up, man? We're just in the middle of a conversation about the Tyson comeback. So I'll introduce everybody in a second. We're just gonna finish this topic. Okay, wait. So are we of the mind that Tyson should not come back? Is that what we're saying right now?
Absolutely.
I don't mean come back like
not competitively.
Not but just a few rounds exhibition. Charity.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't see anything wrong with that, but maybe there's some I'm missing there though. Maybe.
Well, I mean, people love Tyson, right? I mean, everybody wants to see him. He can do anything and we'll tune in pretty much. So sure.
Yeah, entertainment, maybe even with headgear, kind of like what Mayweather did with that Japanese dude.
Yeah. Maybe not even
so bad.
Definitely with headgear though. Definitely headgear because of his age and yeah. You don't want anybody to sustain any damage because I guess I got hyped, man, because I love Mike so much. I was like, dude, he could do it. Exhibition, 3 rounds. Yeah, of course. But he shouldn't fight anybody that would really, he shouldn't fight anybody that would be too much of a challenge.
Yeah, I could see him doing an exhibition. Fight. I don't know how I feel, though, to be honest, about the idea of him fighting Holyfield again, even if it was an exhibition.
I wouldn't want to see Holyfield again. Holyfield will hurt.
Because Holyfield will beat him up again.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Yeah.
And then he had to bite the other ear off. It'll be a big fucking mess.
That could be a problem. Yeah. He could be hungry, and that could be a problem. You never know.
Yo, real quick. Going to introduce you to the cats here. Welcome to the Grown Folks Lounge, by the way. This is where we convene. My name is Reese. The gentleman you see whose window says Joe Landis, we've known each other since nursery school. And we came up, and by the way, get your ass, go. You can pour yourself a drink after we do introductions here. I got my White Claw and vodka in here. Yes, I'm not a real man. I'm a punk, right? So Joe and I have known each other since nursery school. He introduced me to Mike Tyson, by the way. And
when you say that, can I ask, do you mean the first time you heard the words Mike Tyson was out of my mouth?
You and I were sitting in German class together, and you said, there's this kid coming up named Mike Tyson. Apparently, he's a badass. And I think the name had floated around before, but you schooled me like, no, this dude is the real deal, right? And before that, Joe and I were into Muhammad Ali together and stuff like that. Without giving away our age too much, I saw Muhammad Ali's retirement fight on closed circuit TV when I was on vacation in New Orleans with my parents. His last fight where he beat Leon Spinks and retired. So we're fight geek fans. We're music
fans. But he came
fans.
back.
Growing up loving music together. Yeah.
And Larry Holmes.
We love everything music, film, and fight related, and we geek out about that. So you're in the Grown Folks Lounge to have a drink, talk shit about that with us. And then these two brilliant gentlemen that I had the pleasure of meeting at Apollo, working for the Apollo Education Program. We got cool, and then we started geeking out about fights. Clara and I were geeking out about fights first, and then there was an epic gathering that Claro here below had at his place. And of course, I invited Joe. Joe was in town that time. We're from Chicago originally, Joe and I, but I moved here to go to school, and I made friends with these people as the years went on. Recently made friends with Claro. But Claro had this epic gathering for the Wilder Fury fight, and which was, as if anybody saw the fight knows, it was Wilder chasing
first fight.
The first fight, yeah.
The first fight, sorry, the first fight. Chasing down Fury with no skill or defense whatsoever. And then, of course, that knockdown, which is a knockout, I still think. But anyway, and then everybody got hyped, like movie style hyped. And my man Benson came through to that fight, and I feel like there's a bonding that night because after that knockdown, Benton goes 400 years, 400 years, and I was like, that's my dude from that night on. And then Joe after coming through to that epic night was like, yo, dude, that shit was fucking crazy. It was awkward because when you introduce new sets of friends, you don't know how it's gonna go. Right. But
that was a really great fight party though, because it was about 10 or 12 people. So it was a good crowd, but not too many people, and everybody was into the fight. Like everybody was a boxing fan.
Yeah. So we're all fans. We're Renaissance men in our own right. We all love film. We all love music. We all love fights, and here we are. And now you can go make your drink. Okay. Or sit and just hear us talk more shit. Sorry. So, yeah, about Tyson. No, I think the Tyson comeback should be monitored. It should be against a fighter who's not as good, like not Evander Holyfield. It should be more against like Buster Douglas or somebody.
I got a pitch.
The long-awaited rematch.
How about celebrity death match? and that you pick a star of the day, but someone like that's but not like Mark Wahlberg, like Tom Hanks. Like I want to see.
Whoa!
Or wait, what about what are those YouTube guys who fight?
Tom Hanks. Wait, I'm so sorry. Wait, Tom Hanks versus who?
Tyson. I want to see.
What? Wait, what?
Oh, come on.
That dude, that's just sadistic. What the hell?
Hear me out. This is the pitch. That you get a celebrity deathmatch style, right? Where there's like a lottery ball, right? There's
That's ridiculous.
a bunch of names in it, and I'll have like Tom Hanks, like Rita Wilson. You know, like it'll have
Oh.
it could be any gender, any age, right? And then you just choose, and then that celebrity has 6 weeks to fight Mike Tyson in an exhibition fight. They fight for charity.
Nobody's gonna do it.
Like they would have access to top training, right? Like
they would train.
Even with that,
Robert Garcia will train him or somebody. Freddie Roach.
Tom Hanks will never fight Mike Tyson. Tom Hanks will never.
No,
fight
not
Mike
Tom Hanks.
You know who you should.
What about like those
who will do
YouTube
it?
guys?
I was just Joe. We're so insane. I was about to say Logan Paul. I will pay money to see that shit.
See Logan Paul?
Yeah, Logan Paul's trying to fight now. He's trying to fight now.
Okay.
He was on a card not long ago and won, right? He actually looked okay. Shane Mosley trains him.
Yeah, but he's such a cocky little piece of shit. You can tell he's not that good. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to see Mike Tyson. He wouldn't. Like that little punk wouldn't get into the ring with Mike Tyson. He wouldn't do it.
What about like Dana White versus Vince McMahon?
I would see that shit.
I'd
see that shit. The two asshole versus asshole. Yeah, I'd see that shit. I think Tyson could do the exhibition. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean,
about the celebrity thing. I just think you need to pick a celebrity who is more of an asshole whose ass you want to see get beaten. That's why I vote for Logan Paul. That piece of shit.
I'd rather see them use old boxers in a safe way to build boxing back up. Than these YouTube guys, whether they're using to get the YouTube market.
Well, I really want to see them get their asses beaten, but
sure, but like it's not fair for the professional boxers who are in the undercard of the YouTube guys. I'm like, come on.
That's true. That's true.
That's not cool. Well, my opinion, right? I'd rather, because it's boxing. This is their sport. They devoted their life to it, and sometimes they're skipping, a lot of these milestones that everyone else has, like college or whatever else people have. And then you have these YouTube guys who've built their name doing
nothing. Yeah.
I mean, I get respect to the YouTubers. They're great. They're doing their thing, but it's almost like I had a problem.
No respect to the Paul brothers. No respect to them.
Yeah, but it's like if you have thousands of boxers trying to get a big paycheck, right? Yeah. They're trying to get a big paycheck, and that's their only job. And you're like, then you got the main event for these guys. Come on. That's
why these YouTubers need to get into the ring with real fighters to get their asses schooled. Logan Paul.
You know what I could see them doing with the YouTubers?
Real quick. Logan Paul needs his ass beat. Logan Paul needs his ass beat. I'm gonna keep saying that. He needs his ass beat.
Who's the other Paul? Jake Paul?
Yeah, other little punk, little brother.
One of them lost a fight, one won a fight, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know Jake even fought.
You're right. I think the brother fought on the undercard, but Logan Paul fought on the main event. But they were all
who fought the guy who was like his name was like Ada Nose or something like that.
Yeah, that was the brother.
Or was it spelled backwards? It was like Big Nose or something like that.
I don't know. I'm not.
Easton, Gib, something like that.
Something like that.
Y'all heard about what Logan Paul? You know about what Logan Paul did, right? He basically took a camera into this forest in Japan, I want to say.
You know
where people commit suicide, and he filmed and was like laughing. And we are back. We're back because we had to wait for you, the viewer, to go bring some more alcohol. While we're on this, by the way, who's drinking what, Joe? Joe, what you working with, man?
This is a bullet bourbon.
Okay.
On ice.
And Claro, are you going cocktail free? We're in the grown folks lounge, bro. Come on, man.
I'm just drinking my my tea here for the moment, but I think once the fight comes on later tonight, I'll be drinking some stuff.
What shall you be drinking in the future, sir?
Maybe some. I have still some Woodford Reserve up on my thing that I've been sort of milking that for a while. But Bullet's a good choice for sure.
Nice.
Whiskey in my household, whiskey is the drink of choice.
Now, we got to let the viewer know about this.
Bourbon.
We got to let our guests know about this. Benton, he's not there. His screen is there, but Benton has disappeared. But he is a martial artist, And I think he has practiced the art of meditation to the point of going invisible. I think he's actually there, but he's like he's invisible.
Right.
He's there. Oh, he's back. There he goes. That's not technically powers of invisibility, but shit. I tried. We are back, sir. Can you see and hear us?
I can. I'm back. I have to handle essential business. Emptying and refilling.
Salute. Hang on, I'm trying to.
What beer is that? What kind of beer?
What you working with?
Man, I'm not a fan. This is a what's it called? Snake Dog. It's not. I'm going to show you the bottle. In fact, I'll show you because it's not good. Oh.
Well, maybe if you got a Chicago brew, because if you see me I'm representing with two things that will represent our Grown Folks Lounge vibe here. Chicago,
that's that's not Five Rabbit.
Muhammad Ali.
Five Vulture.
The greatest.
No, it's one of those flying dog. Like they have
Flying Dog, right? That's what I meant.
They have other ones that are really good.
If it was a Chicago beer, then you'd be good, man. You got to work with the Chicago beer.
Hey, what are you drinking, Reese?
I'm drinking a man's drink. Okay, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, the White Claw.
You're drinking a spritzer, and I'm amazed it does not have.
Right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Mango.
Hey, you guys, does anybody here remember the beer Tequiza that was out in the late '90s? It had like a squirt of lime in it. It was like half beer, half lime soda.
Hang on, Joe. We're leaving this off. You're cutting me off at just a White Claw because people are gonna think I'm a punk because all I'm drinking is White Claw.
Well, there's a story about
it's a mix of White Claw and Svedka vodka. Okay.
It's a Zima.
And I'm eating fish balls, so I totally set myself up. Now I'm gonna get trolled completely. We're about to talk about Joe Rogan.
Oh.
The reason I fundamentally don't like Joe Rogan, and anybody here who's a Joe Rogan fan, you viewer, our new guest in the Grown Folks Lounge, you can look this up too. Joe Rogan has a comment for all of his intelligence and his eclectic crew and whatnot. Rogan has a few things, I used to love Rogan. I used to follow him. And then there's one thing, and of course people are going to be like, oh, it's just one thing he said. Nah, this is one of those things like R. Kelly pissing on the little girl on the videotape. You can't explain certain things. I like how people try to trivialize certain things that are just what they are. Joe Rogan basically, you can look it up. Joe Rogan talks about a time he went to an all-black neighborhood to see Planet of the Apes. And he basically says he walked in the theater and it was Planet of the Apes in there. It was like he walked into Africa.
And the guy goes, okay. I goes, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door and there was no white people.
He literally goes hard like that. That's Mr. Intellectual Joe Rogan. So that's all I needed to see to be like, I knew that white boy, frat boy energy on UFC. There was a stench there. You know what I mean? So that's all I needed to see to be like, Like he went hard too. He was like, yeah, it was like Planet of the Apes up in there. I was like, wow. So if you ask me why I ain't trying to hear shit about Joe Rogan, that was the nail in the coffin, if you will. But y'all tell me if you think I'm overreacting. But
no, that doesn't sound like an overreaction.
You can't explain that away. You know what I mean? That's kind of like.
Yeah.
Dude.
Now, and since Mark Wahlberg came up earlier as a name, as a potential opponent for Mike Tyson, you know about his past, right? Him and his buddies.
Oh, dude, they used to call, people monkeys and,
But they beat up some, like, elderly Vietnamese gentleman, and he lost his sight.
Dude.
Yeah, they took out his eye.
That Boston racism, it's like a finely, how do you say it? It's like they finally cure their racism. Like literally, they'll call where the Pakistani people own stores. They call them the Pakis. Literally call them the Pakis. So that racism in Boston is for real, Jack. Like it's no joke. To the point where Boston white folks will tell you, like, yeah, it's a little. Ben Affleck himself, like in some of his movies, the reason I don't like Ben Affleck, but the reason I like some of Ben Affleck's movies, he doesn't hide the racism in the hood over there. Like literally, like when they curse at each other, yeah, your mom's a nigga. Like they literally.
Is that in the town?
I think it might be either the town or no. I think it's Gone.
Gone Baby Gone.
Gone Baby Gone. which is dope. Yo,
The Town was
I've
good.
never liked Ben Affleck, but Gone Baby Gone I thought was fucking ridiculous.
He's definitely Ben
and The
Affleck.
Town is dope. I thought The Town was dope too.
I thought The Town was great. He's a better filmmaker than he is an actor.
I agree. Yeah. I can't. And Batman, fuck that bullshit. Ben Affleck is Batman. Nope.
No.
Sorry. My vote is Christian Bale. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but
100%.
Yeah, Christian Bale was great.
Yeah.
I think he's the best
Great.
Batman. I think he's better than Keaton was.
And those Batman movies were great. Those were the best Batman movies.
I think shot in Chicago. Of course.
They were. That's not why they were great, though.
No, but it helped because Gotham
didn't
City
hurt.
looked kind of dope shot in Chicago, bro. Like, I think Chicago's a beautiful town.
And they also
just
got a
visually.
lot in Vancouver, too. It was Vancouver and Chicago, I believe. But I do know
But the
people
best
who
scenes
had
were in Chicago.
speaking roles in that, like extras. In the,
Yeah. What was the
But how about
previous
Joe
opinion?
Rogan versus Mark Wahlberg in a celebrity boxing match?
What if Joe Rogan fought Mike Tyson? Joe Rogan he's trained. Joe Rogan trains, and Joe Rogan thinks he's, the tough guy shit like that. Or Logan Paul, one of them.
Joe Rogan and Tyson are close to the same age.
Right.
He's definitely trained. I mean, Joe Rogan was a Taekwondo,
Yeah.
That could be a thing. He talked about fighting Wesley Snipes at one point. Did y'all know about that? He was gonna compete against Wesley Snipes.
No.
Because Wesley
I didn't
Snipes
know
trains.
about that.
Wesley Snipes. Wesley trains.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
you guys can Google it and find it. He was talking about
And isn't it, by the way...
Matter of fact, there's a Joe Rogan episode where he talks about them coming close to doing it, and it didn't happen. They were going to fight.
Is Wesley Snipes back or not? He was in Dolomite. He was good.
He's back. Yeah, and he's going to be in the next Coming to America, too.
Next Coming to America.
Yeah, they did another Coming, unless production has been frozen thanks to COVID. But
Okay.
I
think that first one was kind of magic in a bottle. I don't expect the sequel.
But you know what? I would have agreed. I agree with you pretty much, Joe. But I think what gives me a little hope, I was surprised you all tell me what you think real quick. I think that Dolomite, I want to get you guys' opinion on this. I didn't want to see Dolomite because my criticism towards Eddie Murphy is, like, when he did the donkey in Shrek, like, Eddie Murphy will phone it in and do the coonish thing that everybody loves. Like, I haven't liked a lot of his voiceover shit. But I thought Dolomite was going to be the same thing, but I actually liked Dolomite. I actually thought that movie had a lot of heart to it. I liked it way more than I expected. And so you liked it, Joe?
Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was great, though, but it was a solid kind of feel-good movie.
It was solid. I liked it better than I thought I would. Did you guys see it?
I didn't see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Ben, what do you think?
I actually really liked it. I liked it. I mean, I liked it a lot, and it was also, I realized I liked it because it was one of those things where it was like it was almost like a tribute in a way to like Harlem Nights type thing where bring in all these different talents that people just have a connection to, and so you can kind of respect it on that level. And then also
felt like an event. Yeah.
Then I have a connection with it just as a kid. I remember vividly the first, probably the first naked woman I ever saw was on a Dolomite album. My dad had Dolomite albums for real. Had Rudy Raymore albums, and I remember this classic one. It's him. He's like laying down in some like 70s lounge chair joint, like Shay's Lounge joint, with like a model plane over his dick, and then all these like beautiful naked black women behind him with big old afros. That was the cover of the album. I was like, word.
Isn't it funny that our first memories of nudity aren't because of, a lot of the time, aren't because our parents sit us down and say, all right. Because that's an awkward thing, too. You're not going to sit your kid down and say, okay, now the pubic hair is over this part of the genitalia. No. We learn stumbling across our parents' sloppy moves. Like whether it's an album that we discovered or whether it's a videotape. Now, I'm giving away our age in the days of videotapes. Those of you young idiots I'm sorry. Those of you young bucks out there who don't know about videotape. Everybody knows about videotape. We discovered videotapes, VHS, VCR. That's what we grew up on. And you stumbled, or whether it was the Playboy magazines or
Laser.
That was the real sex ed, even more than school. Because
I like the first naked woman you ever saw. I've been thinking about the first one I've seen since then.
It was by accident. What I saw was by accident for sure.
What was yours then, Mo?
I can't remember, Dan. I know it's either an album or a magazine. I think it was a Playboy magazine. No, shit, it might have been like a Penthouse magazine. But I know it was either a grandparent or a parent who had it, because my memory is terrible now. So I don't want to say it if I'm not sure. But I know I stumbled into a magazine and I was like, it was either that or it was like a movie. Or
I think for me it was probably a movie.
Yeah. It might have been a movie that wasn't even porn. It might have just been like a R-rated movie.
No, I'm thinking maybe Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. That was the joint. That was me and Joe's. Me and Joe growing up together. That was our movie, man. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That was.
I saw Dressed to Kill when I was like 9. I think the first like half hour is Angie Dickinson in the shower.
They don't know about Dressed to Kill, bro. A lot of people don't know about that. That's Brian. That's Brian De Palma. I don't mean you guys don't know. I mean a lot of the people who might be watching don't know about Dressed to Kill. If you haven't noticed, I got a thing against the younger.
Well, Brian De Palma did Scarface, right? So I mean, everyone knows Scarface.
Yeah. When I say I got a thing against the younger generation, I don't, I like to troll them. I have a teenage daughter, so I give it to her all the time. But
and I mean, for me, growing up in, a lot of it was in like Manila, and I don't even really know the exact moment. Definitely, you see it on TV. But also growing up in Miami, Florida, if anyone has ever spent time there, you kind of know there's kind of like in terms of like sexuality being like presented to you, it's kind of like, I don't know, people are like half dressed all the time in Miami, Florida. It's just sort of part of the culture. In a way, it's kind of interesting because growing up in a place like that, and I guess Manila to an extent, but mostly Miami, Florida, you take the, what do you call that? You know what, when like the people portray like strip clubs and red light districts, there's kind of like a seedy around it in a lot of other cultures. But when you grow up in like a place like Miami, Florida, where you're like the strip club culture is part of it, and it's almost like even to this day, like I have friends who go, but they're going with like elders, like I'm gonna go take my.
It's not a big deal. It's a part of the culture.
It's like a going to whatever.
It's crazy. I think it's like that in Atlanta too, right? Yeah, your culture is really big in Atlanta.
New Orleans have that culture, and I feel like if you grow up around there, it's kind of more liberating to think about those places as less seedy, even though I can see like in the context of a certain city, right? You're like, all right, it's not part of the space, so you have a relationship to it that's different. I'm gonna places it's like super normal, and you don't see it as like this thing that's like only like dirty people go there or whatever.
I'm gonna sneak a segue there into sound, into music. Yeah. Okay. So here's my segue that I'm sneaking in here.
Miami Sound Machine.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Oh shit! Yo, Landis did a total like. He did a quick little side. That was like, what was that? How would that be equated with a fight move? That was swift. That was beautiful. Because you told me
we'll figure it out. That'd be like come up with the right analogy.
Okay. Anyway, no, I was thinking Cardi B. Cardi B. Here, my segue is into this.
Oh, Cardi B.
Cardi B.
Right? Stevie B.
Cardi B would not be big if there wasn't more of an embracing of strip culture. Because if you look at it in hip hop, what's happened? We've gone from MC Lyte to Queen Latifah to Lauryn Hill to Cardi B. You never would have seen Queen Latifah walking around on stage in pretty much a bikini, showing off ass and twerking, right? But what's become pop culture and trap music now, most of the women that you see now, one of the popular things is like pretty much wearing bikinis on stage.
Well,
so strip culture has kind of dominated the mainstream a little bit more. You got Jennifer Lopez and Cardi B in that Hustlers movie, right? And that's so. Do you think that kind of what you're talking about, Claro, like
and the thing is,
like Miami and Atlanta culture has been more embraced into the mainstream culture in the sense,
and like interesting, like local celebrities there have been like that for a while, right? They've been doing that thing for so long. The local people that
I left out Nicki Minaj too. Nicki Minaj, before Cardi.
That they were like,
also like Lil Kim, Foxy Brown.
Lil Kim, I left out Lil Kim and Foxy Brown. Yeah, Lil Kim was more like the veer toward Lil Kim and.
They were like a bridge, I think, between the real kind of female MCs.
Lil Kim more than Foxy Brown. Lil Kim more than Foxy Brown.
But also like embracing like their Caribbean culture at the same time. You know, it's like Cardi B goes hard on the Spanish, and she has these references to being what is she, like Dominican and Trinidadian or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it was interesting to sort of grow up in, you know, seeing the local people that, you know, oh, these are just local rappers that probably won't go to the mainstream because there's that sound, you know, like the Miami sound or the West Coast sound. They're super deep local culture sound that most people are like, oh, this isn't gonna go beyond, because, you know, here the New York at that time, the mid 90s, you know, the New York sound and the LA sound was definitely dominating hip hop.
Right.
And then the Bay had their sound, right? The Bay Area had their, like the
E40.
Yeah,
E40. Oh my God.
E40 and like
that's my guy.
Which is a great point. Yeah,
Too Short.
Claire, that's a great point, because when you see the evolution, I literally remember, because it kind of speaks to how hip hop has kind of transitioned into trap, because I remember you can kind of credit Lil Wayne with the trap, not Lil Wayne, but Baby, and that whole Young Dummies movement, I call it.
The Baby.
I'm gonna give a disclaimer. I'm going to be biased against anything connected with Drake and that whole back that thing up movement and that whole the Baby movement. I don't like them cats. So there, I'm biased.
If your name is
what do they say now? They at me, bro. At me about it. I don't care. But I remember I saw the evolution, because New York has always had integrity with hip hop, right? You couldn't do certain shit on New York radio. If you came to, like, you would walk up in a New York spot with hip hop. We're talking at heyday, like the 90s or whatever. You get a bottle thrown at your head if you came in. And you sang like Drake, you get a bottle thrown at your head.
Actually,
but
a great segue would be at some point in this thing we're doing is the relationship. I mean, hip hop has a relationship with boxing for sure, right? It has a relationship.
Of course. Hell yeah.
Now it's like the MMA, you know, it's still evolving, but I don't know if it has the same relation. I don't know what music is attached to MMA. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Like Blink 182, Surfer Rock or something.
Oh no, dude. Yeah, lad, exactly, Joe. Yeah, it's definitely more like no, there's a little hip hop attached to it, though.
But back to your point, Maurice. But the thing I think though too is that there's that bridge you're talking about with, like, you know, Party B or whatever. Is that hip hop culture? You got to remember. You got to think that the Southern music, when New Orleans, we're not even before New Orleans, even like Texas, like Houston music, Atlanta music, when that came in, and Miami, of course, like the bass, you know, Two Live Crew. Is that when they came around, they literally upped strippers' lifestyles.
Yeah.
Like, women were using
Don't stop, get it, pop the
women were using the clubs to make a living, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, there's a whole club lifestyle that comes around it. So then a lot of these cats, they learn, like, you know, one person gets big, right? One person gets big, like, you know, Two Live Crew gets big or whatever. But then all the rappers and everyone else that's around them, like, yo, they get played nonstop. They have a venue. If I can make a song that, if nothing else, just slaps in the strip club, right? They're gonna like, oh, Beat King. Did any of y'all know Beat King?
I don't know Beat King.
Bruh.
I'm actually ashamed to say I don't know Beat King.
Beat, like beats, you know, beats, like Beat
King. Okay.
Beat King.
Oh, Beat King.
It is the most, like, I don't even know who this dude really is or whatever. I'm looking up right now. I'm trying to find a picture. Hold up.
Which we can insert.
But this is the cover of an album, to give you a clue. You know, see that?
Oh yeah,
I can't see that. It's clearly.
Oh, it's just,
okay. I see. Cheeks.
I want to like do that, you know.
Cheeks, of course.
Okay, cheeks.
But yeah, cheeks. But he talks about it in his music. He makes beats for other people, but then he has his own albums too, you know. But he talks about it that his whole career is in strip clubs. He makes albums for strippers. He's like, this is music. This is what it is. So so like anything else in hip hop, I think commerce is kind of like taken over, you know,
100%.
Where the river runs, you know what I mean? Like that becomes kind of one of the main things, and that becomes that bridge then, you know.
Great point, man. And I think that a lot of what we saw, to go back to the moment where I saw a change, because y'all know, and Ben, you definitely know, but Clara, you know it too, because I've been here since '91. So because I came to New York to go to NYU, and I didn't go back to Chicago, which I still get shit about. But for my Chicago brothers, that's a whole different episode, though.
The brain drain, brother. It's okay.
Yeah, you're gonna.
I don't think you would get shit for it for 20 years. You weren't saying we're coming back to Chicago. That's it. Next month we're coming. We're moving back. Get ready.
Joe's got
have a party for me.
Joe's got me. You're gonna see the Chicago brothers in the Grown Folks Lounge too, so they're gonna give me shit. But yeah, I remember literally driving down FDR, and I remember how like when it came to hip hop, man, this, of course, the core of hip hop is New York. The mecca of hip hop is New York. So you couldn't get no shit by on New York radio, man. You couldn't do no bullshit. No, even R&B remixes were getting criticized. When Method Man did "You're All I Need," the remix with Mary J., that was still looked at as a little soft for a Wu-Tang dude.
Right.
But Meth could get away with it because he was official, right? But then I saw that whole transition when Back That Thing Up. You's a big fine woman, mama. Back that thing up. I heard that on Hot 97. You never would have heard no Southern. New York used to shit on Southern shit so hard. Anything Southern was mocked so bad in New York. And then all of a sudden, call it payola, call it whatever you will, that shit hit New York radio and never looked back. Lil Wayne all of a sudden was the shit.
That's that No Limit and Cash Money era. You know, those are the two big ones.
The Cash Dummies era, when that shit came in. And I remember when I heard Back That Thing Up and I heard Cash Dummies on New York radio, I was like, that's it. Hip hop's about to die. I literally remember that driving down FDR. I'm like, hip hop is about to fucking die. Like hip hop as we know it. And
because Ali.
I'm so sorry. Hold that thought. We are resuming now because you, the viewer, who is our lackey until you become more acquainted with the Grown Folks Lounge crew, the connoisseurs of cocktail convo, that is. You went out and got us more drinks. Now we can continue this combo. But shut your mouth and listen and learn.
So maybe. Thank you. I grew up like watching fights with my father because the big boxing is big in the Philippines. Like Flash Elorde, if you guys he was a big classical boxer in the 50s here in the States, but from the Philippines. But yeah, Ali was beloved because of the Thrilla in Manila, of course. There's like a statue of him in Manila, and so we grew up loving boxing. But even music-wise, like this is interesting, right? Because of that delay, like I grew up. Hence maybe the Apollo Theater connection. I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff, like the soul music, even the doo-wop, because this is like my parents, this is in the other side of the world, like listening to American influenced pop culture. Usually it's like 10 years after, right? So what was popular there at that time, now there's the internet, so there's a little bit less of a lag. But at that time, like if the disco era was huge here, it would be like, we would still be in the 80s and the disco is still kind of big in the Philippines. And then, we moved here in the early 90s. But in any case, I sort of aired towards a lot of those, especially the older fights where, even during the Tyson era, my father was like, you should check this out with the Leonard and Ali at that time. So I got an appreciation for that.
Technically, would they classify you as a millennial, technically?
Or they would say, I think there's this term which is interesting, and maybe I'll embrace it, but there's this thing called the Zennial.
Yeah, exactly.
The what? Say it again.
Zennials, Generation X millennials, it's called Zennial with an X. Like
that's interesting.
You take the M and replace it with an X, because these are people who, like I grew up.
Zillennials.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah.
So early millennials, basically.
Yeah. For folks who I went through all of college without social media. The internet, social media wasn't even around. Like, I'm the same age as Zuckerberg, essentially. So when he was making that stuff up, we would have been freshmen at the same time, me and Mark Zuckerberg. We're exact same area. So I remember when my first year of school, we were like, who's this freshman from Harvard creating this Facebook thing? And I was like, I don't want to join that. We're the same age, exactly the same age as Mark Zuckerberg. So we sort of saw the world changing before us. But I would say, like, I grew up, like, my parents had Laserdisc and Betamax in the Philippines because it was already gone in the States.
Laserdisc, hold up.
They were going to be the new thing, right?
Before
DVDs.
Laserdisc, that was the shit. The big,
I think it was y'all already
like
got
a record, but like a silver.
It never quite took off, though. If you notice, Laserdisc never quite took off. Like,
no, they didn't.
As the professor here, I would like to break this down for you why that happened.
The professor
is that Laserdisc, as Beta and all that other stuff. You know what drives that industry, ladies and gentlemen? Pornography. So Laserdisc. The porn industry literally, to this day, still determines what media platforms, or video platforms specifically, are going to
Oh, shit.
Because, so there was, remember there was, Claro, you don't remember this, but y'all two remember this probably. There was SVHS, like there was like Super VHS, right? They were like promoting this like higher quality VHS for a while.
Yeah.
Beta. right? Not Betamax, but Beta. That was like
I remember that shit. Yeah, Beta was supposed
there was
to
a
be
war
shit too. Yeah,
there was a war, like, you know, and so like when movies were coming out, like whatever, Back to the Future, or whatever, they'd have
get
to
it on Beta, Betamax.
Right, they'd have to do them both, and people were like, oh, Beta, 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 this, whatever. And the reason why SVHS beat out Betamax was pure 100% the pornography industry. We're betting all because they have to, because they were doing all the duplicating. They're like, it's cheaper to duplicate.
See that, yeah.
Cheaper, whatever their cause was, but they bought all their machines in SVHS, and that's where the industry went. And literally, it destroyed, it killed the idea of what Beta was. You know, and Beta was like a really beautiful, like to get really deep into the nerd of it. Beta was a really beautiful analog platform because it was really rich. Like when you shot, that's when I was first learning to shoot. Was shooting on Super Beta, like, you know, and the colors are just really, really rich. Really, like as close to at that time, way closer to film than today's like 4K. 4K is way crisper. 4K is way more precise. But there's a thing about analog, like records versus CDs and whatever, where there's a feeling that was to Beta. Beta had a feeling to it that was really, really beautiful to shoot on, and it reacted in a really beautiful way. And it was like, porn industry was like, nah, we going over here. And Laserdisc and all that stuff the same way. They chose certain platforms because Laserdisc was too expensive. You have to flip those things over. Remember?
I always wanted Laserdisc, but I didn't have. That was too high tech for us.
My father got a Laserdisc player in like '95, and the only movie I ever watched on it, he got Halloween, the Criterion Collection.
Which, by the way, when we were kids, Joe turned me on to the Halloween shit because I used to be too scared to watch horror movies. And Joe was like, pretty much in so many words, Joe was like, "You're gonna stop being a little bitch, and you're gonna watch this fucking horror movie."
So I made.
Because I did not want to watch the violent scenes, man. Like,
no,
so
it was American Werewolf in London.
You made me watch that shit.
Put it on. I tried to trick you, told you it was like Arthur or something. Then you realized that you ran out of the. I remember I was trying to drag you back.
I ran. Yeah. Henceforth, I drink White Claw.
Yeah, I forget what movies we had on Laserdisc, but definitely I remember one, in which was Moonwalker, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Oh shit!
That one with Joe Pesci, was it Joe Pesci?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the time. I don't know if it was Joe Pesci, but I remember that's the time frame though.
By the way, just to interject real quick, Joe Pesci is still a fucking G till the day he died.
Joe Pesci's great. He was phenomenal in The Irishman.
I thought that was his movie in my opinion.
But that movie, there was a Michael Jackson robot. Do you remember that?
In Moonwalker?
In Moonwalker?
Oh, the only reason I watched that is because my daughter was so into Michael Jackson that
there was like a Michael Jackson robot that shot like rockets or something like that in the end.
As much as I love Michael, there was certain stuff that I wouldn't indulge in.
Wait, was it a movie or an extended music video?
No, it was a movie.
It was a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the extended video for Bad, directed by Martin Scorsese with Wesley Snipes in it?
Yeah. Of course.
Bringing it back to Wesley, my boy.
Hoyt Schermerhorn, right? Hoyt Schermerhorn Station.
Yep.
Right here. Brooklyn.
That's
Wait, what?
Hoyt
Schermerhorn?
That's right.
That's where they shot it. They shot it at Hoyt Schermerhorn Station.
Right there. I lived on Schermerhorn and Court.
Oh yeah, it was right there.
Dude, they shot it right.
Hoyt was like 2 or 3 blocks, just whatever, away from the river. What's your favorite Wesley Snipes role? Since we're talking about Wesley Snipes now.
That's a great question, bro. Great question. Shit.
Nino Brown from New Jack City.
Dude. That's a great fucking question. Shit.
Willie Mays Hayes from Major League.
Whoa,
he's good in that
That's a great
too.
question.
Okay,
I got mine. Mine might surprise you guys, but go ahead.
I'm gonna look.
I'll say Willie Mays Hayes from Major League. That was when he first really came to my.
White man can't jump. Wesley Snipes.
Yo, he killed it. White man can't jump. White man can't jump. He killed it.
Yeah, he did.
But dude, what were you saying from Willie Mays Hayes, Major League? I think we saw, dude. I think you and I saw Major League in the theater together.
I'm at the Hyde Park Theater. I'm sure we did.
Yeah, we saw that together. No, we definitely saw it together.
Yes, and I thought he stole the show. He was the best character.
And that's what and I felt that way about Dolomite. I feel like Wesley adds a special. I'm not gonna say stole the whole thing, but Wesley adds something to a movie, man. And my personal favorite, this is just my personal favorite, Mo Better Blues.
Yeah, he was good in Mo Better Blues. That's right.
I thought that's when I really got into Wesley. When I saw Mo Better Blues, I was like, he was like a huge part of that movie for me.
Yeah,
but Jungle Fever.
He did his thing in Mo Better Blues, man.
But you didn't like him in Jungle Fever, right? You kind of
No, I liked him in Jungle Fever, but I just don't like Jungle Fever. Like I came to the reason I'm in New York is because of Spike Lee. I used to be a heavy Woody Allen fan. I used to be all about Woody Allen, and then I realized Woody Allen had no black people in his movies. And then Spike Lee came, and Spike Lee spoke more to me with kind of that Woody Allen type of vibe. Spike Lee has his own vibe, but I'm just saying the character thing, you know, doing movies about characters and but speaking more to me. And so, you know, basically once I saw like Spike Lee's like, I love Spike Lee, but he's inconsistent, you know, like, I don't like Spike Lee like I used to. Like after that Chirac shit, that's a whole other conversation. We'll get into that later, but, you know, anyway, I'm here because of Spike Lee, and I got into a lot of Spike Lee shit. And when I saw Mo Better Blues, that was my real introduction to Wesley Snipes. But Jungle Fever to me was one of the inconsistencies. I did not like Jungle Fever. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but I just thought it was sloppy, personally. So Annabella Sciorra is the shit. I love her.
Who? Oh, Annabella Sciorra.
Yeah, the love interest.
Did you make out with her once?
No, I never made out with her, dude. Don't even go there. You're killing. Now you're making me mad that I never did it.
But you might have had a chance.
No, well, nah, because you had a boy. Well, you know what? Shit, I don't fucking listen, man. I don't want to sit here and speculate. But okay, what Joe is driving at is I met Annabella Sciorra at an after party for this movie called Before Night Falls. Did you guys ever see that? Javier Bardem.
Yeah, that's great. Great.
So I went to shoot the after party, which I didn't know any better, but it was at fucking Julian Schnabel. I can't pronounce his last name. Julian Schnabel's fucking house. Yeah. And I'm here shooting the after party because I was working for this internet. You remember the internet boom? I was working for this internet company during the internet boom, and we go to the after party and we're shooting this. I had to shoot part of it. Fucking David Byrne, Mila Jovovich, fucking Abel Ferrara, and Annabella Sciorra's there. Sciorra's there, and I met her, and she's just down to earth, cool as fuck. But at one point, she goes into the bathroom with Abel Ferrara, and then they both come out, and then I meet Abel Ferrara and shake his hand. I'm like, dude, I'm a big fan of Bad Lieutenant and King of New York. He's like, yeah, man, I want to do. Now, mind you, you guys know when Biggie and Tupac died, right? So this happened like 2000s, earlier 2000s. And so I shake his hand. I'm like, yo, man, I'm a big fan of your films. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to put together this film with Biggie and Tupac. And then it makes more sense to me why him and Annabella have disappeared into the bathroom together. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to the damn point, I met her there and she was really cool. Even though she might have been whatever, but she was really cool. And I exchanged numbers with her, and she came. I had this band I used to play drums in called Natural Selection, and I invited her to that gig. So I told Joe about that shit. And I think from me telling you about that, I probably maybe gave you. Not intentionally. I gave you the impression that I might have been flirtation, but nah. Like I don't think it was flirtation. Is that because it's surprising me that you're saying that? Like, I could have made out with her. But she had a boyfriend too. That she brought to the gig that we did. So wait, did everybody say their favorite Wesley? I say Mo Better Blues. What do you say, Ben? Holy shit! I think his screen just.
I am. Oh. I'm gonna go with New Jack City. Actually, I'm going to New Jack City.
Oh,
Nino Brown.
Yeah. Nino Brown. And what do you say, Claro?
A White Man Can't Jump.
You know what? I was thinking about that. That's a good ass flip. Joe, what did you say?
I said Major League, probably. Yeah. As far as his role, I mean, New Jack City, he was great, but the movie was pretty flawed. And then King of New York was a great movie, but his character wasn't all that memorable in it.
All right, cool. Well, listen, Ben has to go, which means you, the viewer, you definitely have to get your ass out of the Grown Folks Lounge. Get your ass out of here. We're going to reconvene. Hopefully, we can talk about some of these UFC fights. There's no time limit on this. We'll just talk about it whenever we want to fucking talk about it. But we'll be texting and maybe we'll reconvene about these fights that have gone down, these UFC fights.
All right.
Boxing shit. Much respect, gents. Thank you so much.
All right.
Next time. Viewer, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. And until next time.
All right.
All right, guys.